Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Falcons, the Men of North Catholic. And today I'm joined by.
Pat Healey, class of 77, Port Richmond guy.
What's up, Pat? Nothing like having a fellow Port Richmond guy
That's
one on
right.
one.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And yeah, funny story about Port Richmond. I went to Nativity, which in Port Richmond you got Nativity is the Irish Catholic parish, right?
Right.
St. Adalbert's is the Polish parish. MDG is the Italian parish. Mother of Divine Grace is the German parish, right? And then you have the Lithuanian parish. I always forget the name of that school, but they all had grade schools and churches. So when I got to North Catholic, I didn't realize I was in religion class with Father Green, and I'm thinking I'm Irish Catholic, and he says, "No, you're Roman Catholic. We're Roman Catholics." I was like, "I'm not Irish Catholic. What do you mean I'm Roman Catholic?" And I literally thought that we were Irish Catholic until I got to North Catholic and found out we were all Roman Catholic.
That's what, I don't know about some of the other neighborhoods, but like you mentioned, Port Richmond, I mean, it was pretty much a neighborhood of churches.
It was, yeah.
And, like you said, in each section of Port Richmond had its own ethnicities. Do you know what I mean? And that was I guess, the unique thing about Port Richmond,
Yeah. And we all came together at North.
Yep.
I mean, there were a lot of guys that I didn't know, I didn't hang out with when I was a kid. And then we all got to North, got to be friends, and, we were all Port Richmond guys.
Yep. So you ready to take a stroll down memory lane?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
All right, let's do this. So, and I'm sure I know you already answered this, considering, everyone's from the same neighborhood, but why did you choose North Catholic?
Well, there was no choice in it at all. I mean, all the kids from my school went to North. Most of the kids from Port Richmond went to North. It was either North Catholic or Massbaum, pretty much. And I think at the time the public school, if you didn't go to North, was Edison.
Oh wow.
So, everyone pretty much decided to go to North, and I was just a few years after they even started charging tuition, because there was a period of time where you just went to North and there was no tuition. And it started, I think, when I was probably at 3 or 4 years before I got to North, and they started tuition in the grade schools as well. So it made it a little tough because there was 4 of us in high school at the same time.
Well, I bet we can agree on one thing, though. Edison was better than Frankfurt.
Yeah, no kidding. I definitely would not have gone to Frankfurt. That wasn't even. If anything, if I wasn't going to North, I would have gone to Massbaum.
Yeah, and I actually did share time at Massbaum. I don't know when share time actually originally started, but my sophomore year of high school, I did electricity share time, and didn't like it, so I went back full time at North. So
yeah, there were some guys that did that. In my class, they did I guess different electrical, carpentry, and some of the building trades. So yeah.
So what do you remember about your first days in North Catholic? You came from a Nativity, which was a half decent sized church, but then you go to high school, this huge Northeast Catholic high school, which again,
it's talk about feeling like a small fish in a big pond, right? But when I got there, it was I wasn't intimidated by it, because there were guys in the neighborhood older guys that had gone to North, and we knew a lot about it and whatnot. I knew I wanted to play football. And in my thought process was, man, I just hope I'm good enough to make the team. I hope I can make the team, because I wasn't like a giant guy in high school, I mean, I wasn't small, but I wasn't really very big either. So when I got there, I realized, like with freshman football, I realized that I could play at that level. But you looked at the varsity, like, oh my God, those guys were so big and bigger and faster. It's like, man, my dream was, I hope I can play varsity football one day as well. And that a lot of those dreams came true. A lot of it worked out for me, but it was interesting getting there. It was just such a big school, but not too intimidated by it in the beginning. It was fun.
Some of the things, one of the things I never mentioned before, is we mentioned my first video, when we were growing up, obviously you're older than me, I remember being a young guy, getting ready to graduate grade school, and in our eras, we would see guys wearing the jackets, the corduroy jackets, North Catholic, and you're like, oh wow, that's really, really cool. But as you notice, as like the 90s phased out in the 2000s, like you really didn't see kids unless they played sports wearing North Catholic jackets. So as a kid, I was always like, wow, North Catholic, what is that? You're seeing all these guys, older guys, and you're
Yeah.
like, you want to emulate them, you know?
Oh yeah, I remember there were guys like Ray Radamicki and Joe Lamakis. You know, they were guys that they played for. I played for the Leprechauns.
Yes.
Those guys were Leprechauns that went on to play for North, and I remember seeing those guys like getting ready in the summertime at Cahock's, and you know, working out and running around and doing push-ups and doing some drills and stuff. And they had, you know, like a T-shirt that had North Catholic Falcons on it, and a pair of shorts that had North. Those things were so unusual back then. You know,
Yeah.
you couldn't even buy it at the bookstore, you know? And I remember thinking, man, I hope one day I can get that kind of stuff. You know, and I really wanted to go to North, seeing that kind of stuff, because you looked up to those guys.
Yeah. So you mentioned a little bit about the sports and stuff. What sports and clubs did you participate in at North Catholic?
Yeah, I played football for 4 years. You know, played on the freshman team, and then moved up to the JV and then the varsity. You know, I look back on that, right. I also wrestled as well, and I did pretty well wrestling. I'm in the Wrestling Hall of Fame, which is kind of cool.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was really awesome to be recognized with such a great, amazing group of athletes and wrestlers. I mean, that the program just became such a dynasty. But I did that, and I was also in the CSC with Father Hagen, Tom Hagen, who was a really cool guy. He was one of those first guys that I met that was a priest that I realized was really a person too. He wasn't like this, oh my God, he's a priest, you know, be careful what you say. You know, don't look him in the eyes, you know. So, but he was a really cool guy. He was just a down-to-earth guy. I never had him in class, but he was a moderator for the football team and the wrestling team, you know, in different phases. Yeah, and then I was in CSC with Tom Hagen and also student council. And I did something else too that was actually kind of fun. I emceed the talent show. I don't know if they did the talent show every year, like near the end of the year.
Mhm.
It was a big talent show. Guys came out and they played music. They told jokes. It was interesting. And I emceed it as Wolfman Jack.
I can see the resemblance.
Oh yeah. They put a goatee on me like in the makeup room, and I had a tuxedo on, and it was
Well,
actually a lot of
let's
fun.
hear your Wolfman Jack personation.
Oh my God, I haven't done that in a long time. I'm gonna pass on that. Or he would
So
always go, hey.
so
Yeah.
what were you recognized for when you made the Wrestling Hall of Fame? What was your recognition? What did you achieve at North Catholic to be inducted to Hall of Fame?
Well, I was actually the third. I was the third guy to be a Catholic League champion.
Oh wow.
We had Jack Hengy, who was before me. We were the same year, but he was all Catholic the year before, and a guy named Joe Persichetti. Joe Persichetti was the first guy that was a Catholic League champion, and that was in the first year of the program. So the program started when I was a sophomore. Never wrestled before, you know, after football season was over, it was like, you know, I was looking for something to do, and you know, a couple of the guys from the football team went on to the wrestling team or went out for it, and I thought, yeah, I'll give it a try. And so I went down to the cafeteria, which is where we practiced. And man, talk about tough practices. I mean, it was really tough because in the beginning, I learned this years later. I talked to Coach Manzi and a coach just a few years ago, and he said that in that first year, they had so many guys come out for the program that there was just too many of them. And you know, he said that one of the other coaches, a guy named Walt McIlvain, he said, the Walt, I need you, and John Kutsavage, Cuddy, he said to those guys, we need to work them to death. We got to work them to death, work them really hard, and get some of these guys to quit. And Coach Manzi said, nobody quit. He said, talk about tough guys. I mean, it was just a room filled with, you know, inner city tough guys that were like, fine, I can take all this stuff. I can do all this. So that was just the beginning of a dynasty. I mean, practices were run a lot like football practice because Coach Manzi was a football coach. But man, it was really hard in the beginning, and I learned a lot. I mean, wrestling is a sport that when you step on the mat, it's just you and the other guy. I mean, football is an awesome sport. Love football, a lot of one-on-one battles, but there's 11 guys out there. If somebody doesn't do their job, things don't go well. Everybody's got to be working in unison. When you're out there, you know, you can mess up in a play of football and still score a touchdown or still have a good play, right? But with wrestling, it's just you and the other guys. So it's a real confidence builder. You know, you got to be confident in yourself to step on a mat. And what the things that we learned in the beginning, we didn't learn a lot, because a lot of the guys we wrestled, like from Wood and Egan and LaSalle, those guys were wrestling from the time they were in the cradle.
Right.
I'm here where, how long you been wrestling? I just started like a couple weeks ago, or I've been wrestling for 2 years. This is my third year. My senior year is my third year, which I went undefeated my senior year. Stepping on the mat with guys like that could be a little intimidating, but the stuff that we knew was really quality. We knew quality moves, how to do quality defense moves and whatnot. And everybody was definitely in shape. I never at the end of a wrestling match felt like I couldn't go another period or two. I was never out of gas. I mean, if you were out of gas, you weren't pushing yourself in practice. So
let's talk about the program in the pit. You mentioned Coach Manzi started the wrestling program, I guess, during your era.
Yeah.
And North Catholic, we had basketball in the gym and whatnot. What kind of crowd did North Catholic's wrestling draw in the beginning phases of this?
So in the beginning, the crowds were small, but the crowds got big. And so for me, one of the most exciting things and the most amazing memories that I have of being a North Catholic Falcon, right, is my senior year, the Catholic League tournament was at North. It was in the pit. So what it is all the Catholic League schools come together, and it's a big tournament, and it boils down to a final match, and it's in every weight class, and they clear off all the mats. There's one mat in the middle, and the gym was packed. I mean, standing room only. I mean, I think the whole faculty seemed like they were there. I mean, it was just amazing. And I won my match. Jack Hensey won his match. He was in the finals that year as well. And to win that, I was the last match of the tournament. They back then they went with the lowest weight class to the highest weight class, and I wrestled heavy. And that's another story in it as well. I only weighed about 185 pounds. I only wrestled heavy because we didn't have a heavyweight. But to win that match there, and it was a big match. I didn't pin the guys. One of the few guys that didn't pin that year, but it was pretty exciting to win that match, and to have my whole family was there, and the team, and I mean the faculty and lots of students were there. It was really cool.
Nice. You mentioned faculty. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
North Catholic has been infamous for amazing teachers and oblates. What teachers and oblates, or even both, would have stood out to you?
Yeah, so I have a few I would mention. So Father Green, I don't know if he was. I'm trying to think when he passed. He probably passed before you were there. I think he passed around 80, 81, 82, something like that. He was a really cool guy. I had him for religion, but he was also the wrestling moderator. So he was at all the matches. He'd see him at practice. He was, whenever we did mass before matches, he would be there. He would be doing mass, and he was just a really cool guy, really neat guy. And Father Fitzpatrick, I had him for French, and he was a really cool guy too. As a matter of fact, Father Fitz actually officiated my first wedding.
Oh wow!
And that was pretty cool. He was pretty funny. He was another one of those guys that you realize that he's not just he was a priest, but he was also a man, and he was he had a personality. Not just everything wasn't just about religion and God. He was a man, and I thought that was pretty cool. Like the relationship I had with him. I can remember at the wedding, before the wedding, my wife called, my ex called me up, and she says, we're having a big problem with the church. It was at St. Timothy's, and they wanted to have all these different songs at different parts. And the church person was saying, you can't do this song, you can't do that song. And I called up Father Fitz. I said, let me call Father Fitz, see what he says. And so I called him up. He says, what's the problem? He said, they won't listen to these songs. He said, just do them anyhow. He said, I'm officiating the wedding. I promise you, I won't stop if you're doing a song that they don't like. So we said, okay, fine. We did all the songs. I called her up and said, yeah, we're going to do all these songs anyhow. Don't worry about it. So that's what we did. And it was funny. But so Father Hagen, good guy. I mentioned him earlier. Mr. Ridinger was a really good guy. I mean, he was a good guy. He was a guy that in class, if you could, you bring up something about, Mr. Ridinger, tell us about when you were at North Catholic, and he'd go off on a tangent. He'd tell stories for a half hour. and then do maybe 20 minutes of class, and then you were done, right? Then Father Gondak.
I never had him.
He actually, I never had him in class, but he actually ran the talent show, and he was involved in a lot of the sports, and he drove the bus a lot of times, like with the wrestling team, he'd end up driving the bus. And also Mr. Doherty, knew Mr. Doherty real well, Franny Doherty, the athletic director. He actually saved my butt between my junior and senior year. I don't know if I'll tell the story. Why not? So I ended up, I was a good student, right? All A's and B's, and no issues. Never really got in trouble, because one of the things you learn with being an athlete, you get in trouble. You get more trouble, like if you're missing practice because you have jug, or if you're late. I mean, Coach Travers would say, "You're better off not coming if you're going to be late." So it's
Right.
like, and on time is late. So I learned that very early. I'm always early for all my meetings. It comes from high school, right? Usually 15 minutes early, right? If you're 15 minutes early, you're on time. But anyhow,
Exactly.
yeah. So, oh God, I forgot where I was going. Oh, so algebra, junior year algebra. I still don't understand algebra. I ended up, I had Mr. Snyder, who was the track coach, and I'm flunking algebra. And I had to work that summer. Always had a summer job. And I always worked during football season and wrestling, I didn't work, but other than that, I always had some kind of a job. So tuition was $500 at the time. And if I didn't work and make my tuition that summer, I wasn't going to be able to go to North.
Oh, wow.
So I had talked to the coaches, like if I have to go to summer school, I can't have this job, and I'm not going to be able to make my tuition. So Mr. Doherty worked it out with the summer school principal, Cardinal Doherty, and that my mom would drive there on Monday mornings and pick up the work for that week, and she would drop off the work from the previous week. So she brought home a textbook, and I did the work at night, and then she would bring it on Monday mornings. And the work was like, it was like idiot stuff. I mean, it was like, simple basic math. It had nothing to do with algebra, which was my issue. But anyhow, I was sitting in a room the first day I had to go, and I'm sitting with my mom at Cardinal Doherty, and with the principal, and he gets up and he walks over and he looks at my records and he's like, what are you doing here? Like what's wrong with you? And he hit me on the side of the head with a book. He had a textbook, and he was like, bonk. And my mom was like, you deserved it.
Yeah.
So anyhow, that worked out fine. And I saw Mr. Doherty at that dinner for Coach Manzi, I think I was telling you about.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him, I said, do you remember that? He says, oh yeah, I remember that. And he said he had there was some payback he had to do for that guy. He said I owed him something for that. So I don't remember exactly what it was, but he did remember, saving my butt that year. So it all worked out.
No. Okay.
Think of other names. Gosh, there's lots of other names. Mr. Travers, Coach Travers, he was the football coach, for my first 3 years, and it changed over. My senior year, he got moved out, and we thought it was going to be Manzi, and it wasn't Manzi. It was somebody else that wasn't very fond of. But we had a tough year senior year with the coaching change. But anyhow.
So you mentioned you're a wrestler, and you did some football, and you got to, I guess, especially with wrestling, you always got to maintain weight. So how did you survive North Catholic's great cafeteria food? What was because I'm hearing they had ice cream back then. So what was your thing there?
So a couple things. So sophomore and junior year, I had to maintain weight, right? So otherwise what I ate, which was not easy, right? But senior year, I was really, I came down from, I think I weighed about like 205, 210 maybe during football season. And that was just like stuff in my face to keep some weight on. And once a couple weeks before football season was over, I started, watching my weight a little bit, because I was going down to 185. I wrestled varsity 185 as a junior, and I was on my way down to that. And once the season got rolling, we were, we would go, like the last football game of the season would be Thanksgiving Day, right? The North Frankfurt game. And then, we were back. I was at wrestling practice on Friday morning at 9:00. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, we either practiced every day, or there was the only time you practice when there was a match. So I got there, was going to wrestle 185 for a few days, and our heavyweight, a guy named Jack Janda, is a good friend of mine, another Port Richmond guy. Jackie hurt his back and was not able to wrestle. So Coach Manzi came to me and said, "Listen, there's another guy that can wrestle 185. Let's have him wrestle 185. He's a senior as well, and why don't you wrestle heavy?" And I said, "Okay, I don't care." And so I wrestled heavyweight. I weighed maybe at the time I was probably 195, 190 and on my way down. And with wrestling practice, you can't maintain weight, if you are overweight, right? Yeah. So man, I dropped down a couple of times. I was under 180 pounds, from wrestling practice, and I just wrestled heavy all season. And I ended up having an undefeated season.
So in other words, you couldn't touch the cafeteria food.
Well, no. Well, when I was in my senior year, I could eat whatever I want. As a matter of fact, I was trying to overeat to keep my weight up.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I would literally go to McDonald's and have 2 Big Macs, 2 large fries, two large sodas, a cup, whatever else I could eat. I was just doing all kinds of eating to keep my weight up. And eventually, towards the end of the year, I was probably about 190 pounds, maybe 195. And this was when it went from 185, and then the next weight was heavy. Now it goes 185, and then it goes, I think, to 220. There's a 220 pounder, and then above that it goes up to, I think, 275 is the biggest you can be. Right. And I wrestled some guys who were over 300 pounds. I mean, it was interesting. I had to change the way I wrestled.
Oh wow!
But
so
it was fun.
You remember any of your prom? You remember your senior prom by any chance?
Yeah. I went to all my proms. I went to the sophomore dance. I went to the junior prom, the senior prom. I went to other proms. so
you were a pimp.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, if you saw what I wore to my senior prom, I looked like a pimp. It was a powder blue tails.
Oh wow! Did you have a cap too?
Yeah, no hat. I didn't do the hat and the cane thing, but I did the I had all the ruffles and the shirt and the big velvet bow tie.
Did it have a cane? Because remember, guys, you see the canes and the hat and the
cane. No, I didn't do any of that. No.
You probably got whacked. Randy Doc would have probably whacked you when you showed up or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So also, we know a lot of times athletes, not all the time, got some special privileges. But let's talk about Jug and with that, being as good as you were. Did you ever have Jug? Did you be able to get out of Jug? Enlighten us.
So I'll give you 2 stories, right? Number 1, never had to go to gym class.
Nice.
Never went to gym. I mean, there was a thing. Oh, it'd be the worst thing in the world if one of our players rolled an ankle in gym class and was going to miss a week or 2 of football or wrestling, right? So never went to a gym class, but it was always on my report card, and I always aced it. It was an ace or whatever it was. Might have been like a C for complete or something, But never did a gym class because I went from football season to wrestling season, and then I threw the shot put on the track team. I did that 1 year, and I was out of gas, man. I was like, I can't do this. I think I did it my sophomore year, and I was like, I'm not going to do this again. It's just too much. I needed time off, let my body relax and heal. But then so that was one thing that was cool about being an athlete. The other thing was Jug, right? I learned very early on not to get Jug, and I got Jug one time. And it was my first day at North Catholic. I was on a trolley on my way home, and I was on the trolley, and a bunch of guys were acting up on the trolley, messing with the driver and people on the trolley. I don't even remember exactly what they were doing. I wasn't doing anything. So all of a sudden the trolley stops, like right at K&A. Like the trolley only went maybe a block, and the trolley, the 60. And it stops, and we're sitting there waiting, and all of a sudden the cop shows up, and then like 10 minutes later, a priest shows up, right? So he shows up, and they start taking names. So I'm like, okay, who's here from North Catholic? Like almost most of the guys on there were from North, right? And so I got my name taken, and I got Jugged the next day. So. So I go down the jug, and it's like, oh man, it was like, around the beginning of football practice starting, and you can't be late. If you're late, you're in worse trouble. You're better off being sick and not being able to be there. But anyhow, so I'm sitting in jug, and Mr. Rosano, he comes in, and he's looking around like, who are the freshmen here? And I raise my hand, freshman. He walks over, he says, what are you doing here? He said, are you playing football? And I was like, yeah, I'm playing freshman football. He picked the textbook up and hit me on top of the head with the textbook.
So that's the second time you got whacked.
It's the second time I got whacked twice with the textbook, right? So he says to me, he's not giving me a lecture about being a leader. I'm a freshman, right? I'm trying out for the freshman football team. Yeah, about being a leader, an athlete. People they'll know you're an athlete. They're going to see you in the hallways. You need to be a leader. You can't be a follower. You can't be ending up in detention. And so I learned a really cool lesson that day. Stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it.
Ride a bicycle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really ride my bike, which I did that sometimes too, ride my bike to school. But anyhow, so that was my first day.
Oh wow.
Second day with jug. First day was on the trolley. But I know.
What would have been your fondest memory at North Catholic?
God, the fondest memory. Well, the one I already mentioned was winning in the pit with the wrestling team. That was winning the heavyweight in that class at the pit. That was really cool. Gosh, other than that, I'm trying to think. I had a blast my 4 years. I really did. I didn't get in trouble. I didn't take shit from anybody. So there were a few scuffles here and there, but I stayed out of trouble. And I wasn't an angel. I just didn't get caught, but I enjoyed myself there. I didn't like if anybody was picking on somebody. I'd stand up for other kids, and I got along really well with all my teachers except for my algebra teacher in junior year. But no, I really enjoyed my time there. I felt like it gave me a basis, to live my life by, and that's to respect other people, to be a good person, to how to tie a tie.
Yeah, exactly.
I see that all the time. We had to wear a sport coat and a shirt and tie when I was at North, and that was every day. And so I got comfortable being in a shirt and tie. So when I got out of the workforce, and that wasn't a big deal. I knew how to tie a tie.
Usually, one of the questions I ask everybody is how do they think North guided them as to where they are today? But I think in pretty much every answer, you've pretty much answered that.
Yeah.
Unless you want to, again, how do you think North Catholic got you to where you are today? Besides anything we didn't mention.
Well, I was lucky as a kid that I had a really solid home. There were four of us. My dad worked every day. My dad didn't lose his paycheck at the bar. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and at some point she actually got out and started working as well. So there was always food on the table. I'd always have friends over. They're like, man, that refrigerator is full of food. We always had food. And anybody was welcome to eat there at any time. So I had a really solid family, background, right? And then North Catholic just reinforced all that. And I have to say that my dad, one thing I would mention is my dad was just awesome at coming to stuff. He never missed a football game, a wrestling match, a track event. He never missed anything. There would be a wrestling match, a JV game, right? As a sophomore, they were in the afternoon. JV games were Monday afternoon, right after school. So the game would start at 4:00. All of a sudden, here's my dad walking in the gate at Archbishop Ryan, or Wood, where all the rich kids live, right? And here he comes walking in, and there to watch the game. Wrestling matches a lot of times were in the afternoons. They weren't always in the evening. He showed up for all that stuff too. So give my dad a lot of props for being there. Right?
Yeah, it always helps. Always helps.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
That gave me a basis. That I did the same thing for my son. My son ended up he played at Washington Township High School. That's where I lived at the time. And I mean, God, the difference in the fields and the gyms and stuff were just Jesus.
Let's talk about
I
the
mean,
city home field advantage.
oh my God! Like in the pit, like there was more than one time where in a match where you see guys roll off the mat and push into the stands, right into that first row, like concrete and iron. But I mean, just the fields and stuff. And then he went on to play at Kutztown University, and it was a lot of fun going to. It was, I really enjoyed watching my son. I kind of got a feel for what my dad must have felt like watching me.
Yeah.
So it was very cool. But yeah, I love being a Falcon. Anywhere in the city, you run in, it's like we're everywhere. I mean, I bought a boat down in Chesapeake, and I'm down there. Right as I bought the boat, down there doing some things on it, going to get ready to take it out the first time. And a guy pulls a boat in on the other side of the marina, and we get talking. It's a North Catholic guy. He graduated from North Catholic like 10 years before me. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, man. I'm running the guys all over the place. All my travels around the country, and see guys all the time from North. And you very rarely hear a bad word about North. Even guys that were in trouble a lot, they look back on it and they understand.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Some of them went the wrong direction, but I think the majority of them understand what it was. It was about giving you a solid foundation for life. It wasn't about, learning arithmetic and geography. It was about a foundation for life.
Yeah, life lessons. I totally agree.
Yeah,
totally agree.
Yeah.
So if someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, what was it actually like to be a North Catholic Falcon? Whether it's just in the halls or the athlete or just all together, what was it like to be a North Catholic Falcon? What's your best description?"
God, just pride. I'm very prideful of being a North Catholic Falcon. I have a lot of pride. I have a lot of pride in going to the school, and being a part of it. I have a lot of pride in being a part of the beginning of the wrestling program. I mean, there's so many great guys that came through that program that, geez, to have been there in the beginning, it's just really cool. And then to be a part of the football team. I mean, there'd be 300 guys go out for the football team every year, it seemed. Just to be one of the guys that got not only being on the team, but they got to play, right?
Yeah.
And it was very cool, and I was always proud of it. I've never ever been ashamed of coming from an inner city, all boys Catholic school. Always very proud of that, right? Tough place, but yeah, really, really, really proud of it. Proud of North Catholic, proud of my brothers.
Amen. Amen. Class prayer, direction of attention. Do you remember it?
Oh my God.
Well, you got that part right. Go ahead.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh my God, you got.
Yeah, no.
Although
no,
it was
really.
just some,
I have no idea, man. I don't remember. I don't even remember it. Was it like the beginning of the beginning of the day? Was it come on over the speaker, or you said it in a homeroom or something?
Yeah, it was like every class, so all of us knuckleheads didn't act up. I guess it was supposed to it was kind of like an exorcism for all of us, so we could behave in class or something like that. I guess it got us to calm down.
Yeah, really. No, I don't. I just don't remember it. Nah. I remember the second verse of the alma mater.
Hey, well, a lot of people don't remember that.
Yeah, the only reason I know that is because like with football, when you went to camp, we went to Allentown College my sophomore year, and very few sophomores get to go to camp. It's mostly juniors and seniors because they're junior and senior laden teams. There's so many guys, right? And you get kind of there's a little bit of harassment that goes on, and the sophomores have to do certain things, and at any moment in time, one of the a junior or senior, an upperclassman can say, "Sing the alma mater and start with the second paragraph." Oh, geez. So everybody, I really had to study to remember the second paragraph of the alma mater. Anyhow.
Ready for a little North Catholic trivia?
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to throw one right up your alley. A little bit of wrestling team. So the questions I pull up from you come from North Catholic's famous Wikipedia.
Okay.
From 1991 until closing in 2010, how many Philadelphia Catholic League titles did the wrestling team win?
Oh, so from 91 to 2010?
Yes.
That would have been, oh God, it was like 16 or 17, something like that.
Very close, very close. 13 Philadelphia Catholic League titles.
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I mean, again, from starting when it did and not, being one of those schools, like you said, that kids start wrestling from their crib. That's an accomplishment. It's a huge accomplishment.
It is, yeah. Well, there were a group of guys that wrestled in my era, and then a couple of years after. I mean, Tony Conway, his nickname was Cowboy. If you ever get to talk to him, call him Cowboy.
Well, Cowboy, if you're out there and you see this, we need you, brother. It's your turn.
Yeah, his father, Tommy Cole, Billy Hunter. Those guys, they got involved in starting the Junior Falcons program at the PAL, at the Rizzo PAL.
Yep.
And that became the feeder program for North Catholic. And a lot of the guys that were very good wrestlers came through that feeder program. And you learn you can learn a ton when you're younger like that. Compared to starting out as a sophomore, or a freshman in high school. It's pretty difficult sport to succeed at. But it turned into a real dynasty. And Billy Hunter, I mean, God, what a great guy. I don't know if you've talked to Billy yet or Billy.
I know Billy well.
Yeah, Billy, he's a good guy. I'm really happy to see Billy. I see him every year now, and not this year, right? He does the wrestling banquet. And I went to a couple banquets, like I'm going to say back in around 2000 and whatnot. And I would see him working the front door, collecting money and tickets and whatnot. And, always got a hug and how you doing? And so I think he was a freshman when I was a senior. So, and I remember him really well from wrestling. And he went on to do really well as a wrestler, and then he was a coach and whatnot. But he does a great job putting that thing together every year. And the program does some donations on tuition, scholarships and whatnot. So he's a good dude. You definitely got to get an interview with Billy.
Listen, if these guys watch us, I mean, some of these guys aren't on social media, so they probably have no idea.
Yeah, but I don't think Billy is. I mean, it's the best way to get a hold of him is through text,
smoke signals, or some kind of secret spy message.
Yeah,
the Cracker Jack decoder.
Really.
So North Catholic gets announced that's 2009. It's in 2010. It's shutting its doors for good. You've Pat, you've left a lot behind at North Catholic, from wrestling championships to playing football to even impersonating Wolfman Jack.
Yeah.
When you get that words, how do you feel?
It's like my heart sunk. It was just, I thought, it's just a shame, right? That it's a shame that. And then I looked at the enrollment one. Enrollment just way down. I mean, when I was there in '77, and that was only maybe 10 or 12 years after everybody went to the big house, right? Because there was times in the 40s, 50s, and early 60s where your freshman year you'd go to an annex. You'd stay at your grade school for a year. You did your freshman year from there.
Yeah.
And then you'd end up, your sophomore year, you got to go, they called it the big house, right? And it was just jam packed. I mean, when I was there were, the classes were just really packed with students, right? The school was really packed. I mean, I don't know what the maximum capacity really was, but when I was there, it was, if we had an assembly, you had to do it times two, because you couldn't fit everybody into the auditorium in one shot. I know it was way over 3,000. I heard like 3,500 students or something. I heard like almost 1,000 kids in my graduating class. So, but it was a shame when it went down. I mean, I think like the enrollment was like 600 for the whole school, if that, and there hardly any incoming freshmen. So it's a shame. It's happened in the Catholic League, in the Catholic Archdiocese all over, and I think tuition got expensive, but I thought that some really wealthy donor would step in, or a group of donors would step in. But what I heard is that I heard that and I don't know if this is true or not. I heard the Archdiocese got a big number for the building and all that, and so it just went that direction. But I do have a piece of the pit, and I'm ashamed I don't remember the guy's name. It was on Facebook, and the guy said, "Hey, I have some pieces of the hardwood floor from the pit. If you want a couple pieces, let me know." And I was like, bam, I said, "Yeah, Pat Healey, here's my address. Send that stuff. Let me know if you want. I'll come pick it up, And I have a couple of pieces of the pit, and I have them sitting in a little display cabinet. I didn't do much with them, but I know what they are, Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just sad. It's sad that other kids don't get to do that. go to North Catholic. But and I live in Wilmington, Delaware now, and there's a lot of kids here and a lot of guys that went to Salesiano or Sally's, and they're run by the Oblates, and that school opened, I think, 15 or 20 years before North, something like that. And it's an Oblate school. They moved from there up to Philadelphia and then to Father Judge. So those I met a guy a few years ago, and he said he went to Sally's, and I says, "Hey, you know what jug is, huh?" He says, "Yeah, justice under God." So it's funny, but yeah, it was a shame. It really is.
Yeah. Well, on the better part of that, I mean, we got a good group of guys and a great alumni association.
Yeah.
We just had these group of guys with the Norphans who really stepped up and has really done well with keeping the tradition alive at North Catholic.
Yeah.
And I heard you were supposed to be a guest bartender one year.
Yeah, I was supposed to do that. I ended up I was out of town. I couldn't be there. Yeah, I was in Ukraine on business. Okay. And nice. That was disappointing. I really wanted to do that. Who told you that?
I can't tell you. Listen, as the host of the show, I get phone calls and text messages about, if I'm interviewing somebody, don't forget to mention this, don't forget to mention that. So as the host, I can't give up my secrets.
Okay, yeah, you don't want to reveal your sources. God. So yeah, that was the year that I got inducted into the Wrestling Hall of Fame, which I really, really proud of that. I mean, totally, honored by being included in that group. But I every year Billy started putting this together after the school closed. We went, I think, 3 or 4 years where there was no banquet. And then he was like, you know what, this is nuts. We need to get together every year. So we get together every year at a bar in Bridesburg. And it gets pretty full. So I've seen guys there. Like I saw Mr. Manzi there. I hadn't seen Coach Manzi in 35 years, 30 some years. And when I saw him, I got all choked up. Yeah. I was like, I couldn't even talk. I couldn't talk for a couple minutes. I was all choked up, like Mr. Manzi. I gave him a hug. I was like, my God, I thought you would be older.
Yeah.
Because those guys were young. They were in their 20s when they were coaching, So
how many people whose school's been closed for so many years can sit here and say that their alumni is so strong, and the feelings, like you say, you're getting choked up talking to a teacher. So, I mean, again, teachers that we couldn't stand as kids because we were getting disciplined, now we love them. Yeah. It's like they're like your father. You
understand and appreciate it so much more. I mean, I appreciate like my time at North Catholic so much more now than I did when I was younger. When I was younger, it was the way it was, right? And not that I thought it was crap or not fun. I mean, I had fun at North and I enjoyed it, but I just appreciated it more as I got older.
Yeah. Yep.
I think that's pretty normal. That you appreciate those things a lot more as you get older.
So all this COVID, we're slowly but surely getting back to normalcy, but it's been a period of time where we haven't been able to do anything, and our Norphans reunion, got canceled last year. So for all the guys and graduates, classmates, teachers you haven't seen in years, what kind of message would you like to give to everybody that's going to watch this video?
Oh God, stay safe, wear a mask. It's not a hoax. And let's get past all this, which I know we will. I mean, this is a great country to be in, and we'll get past all these things. We'll get back to normalcy, and I think what will happen is people will enjoy that much better. Going out to dinner with friends and family, going to the Norphans reunion once a year, and if you can't make it, maybe it's every couple years. But still being able to do that and see people that you haven't seen in a long time and that you share a bond with, not just North Catholic and football guys and wrestlers and. Seeing guys like that on a more regular basis, I mean, we'll get back to normalcy. And I would say just stay safe and, be patient. We'll get there.
Amen. Pat, it's been truly an honor and a pleasure to sit down and have this conversation with you about a school that we all love. And I would love to meet you someday, hopefully, maybe at the Norphans reunion. But again, I want to thank you for taking time away from your family and having this conversation tonight.
It's my pleasure. It's my honor to talk about it. Appreciate it. And this is a cool thing you're doing. Keep it up.
I appreciate it. Listen, it hit the ground running, and I'm enjoying it myself, meeting guys I've never, look, we don't even know each other. We just had a good conversation for almost 45 minutes. Zoom's going to kick us off soon.
Really? And you're from Port Richmond. It's even better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did you play for the Leprechauns? Did you at co-ops?
I played baseball.
Okay.
I played baseball.
So
I was my mom was a single parent, so I didn't have, like you said, that, the father figure always coming to games and stuff. So, when I got bored or things weren't going my way, I'd stop playing. So it is what it is. You know what I mean? But, I've managed in life, and I did well for myself.
Good. And you're a police officer?
Yep. 5 years to go, brother. 5 years left.
Oh, really? Good for you, man.
Amen.
Good for you.
Amen.
Yeah. Believe me, there's a lot of people out there support you guys. A lot more support than not.
Yeah. Right? Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
Well, Pat, it's been an honor, and I wish you guys, your families, a healthy, safe New Year, and I hope to get to see you soon.
Thank you. Same to you, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Take care.
Right. Thanks, John. Bye now.